Hello, welcome back to Search Sean, and this is a real talk with Sean episode. Not done one of these in a while, but got awesome lineup as you can see. And if you haven't watched one before, it's generally like a panel show where we just go over some potentially hot topics in the digital marketing world, and just kind of discuss them and see what we think. It's always good fun. So I'll go over my great guests today one by one, and we've got Serge, who is the founder of Your PPC Doctor. I'm sure you've seen him before. We've got Garrett, who's the director of marketing at iPullRank. We've got Ryan, who is the marketing manager at SEO testing. And of course, we've got Celeste, who is the director of RooLabs at RicketyRoo Inc. I love saying that. RicketyRoo. But yeah, thanks all for joining me today. Okay, well, let's get into it because as usual, we've got some topics and we're going to go over them. This one and a lot of these, like I said before in the pre-show, no one really knows what the hell is going on and letting know what's going to happen next year or next month or tomorrow. But we're going to try and guess. So it's summer, it's 2026. Hopefully we're all still here and the world hasn't gone to complete chaos. And, what does the search landscape look like? I'll go across the screen to Celeste. What do you think it looks like?
I'm hoping we're going to see some more personalization in search results. We had Google announce that at Google I/O this year back in May, and they haven't rolled that out or really kept that promise yet. So I'm hoping by then we'll be able to see more of that, especially in the local space and sort of searching for businesses near me. It will actually take into context my previous searches, likes, dislikes, previous purchases, things like that. And maybe even the foot traffic from GDP and where I've actually visited to give me some of those searches. So big ask, I guess, to sort of get that. I'm hoping maybe we'll have something small by summer 2026.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, yeah, I hope so. I mean, Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think we kind of have to. I mean, if I was when I was going through these questions and stuff, I wanted to kind of take stock of where we are now, and we know from SpotToro's data and Datos's data that Google handles whatever the number was, 373x more queries than ChatGPT and stuff. So as well as all the personalization, I still think that SEO as a whole is going to be there. I still think that people will probably still be using normal Google search at least a little bit, and traffic will still be coming to websites at least a little bit. But I do think we need to have a conversation about AI, LLMs, LLM search, and this is where all the guesswork is going to come in, which will be quite fun as this discussion goes on. But I think the primary opportunity for us as SEOs and marketers will have to become data-backed experimenters. I think the people that are running structured tests to help us prove what formats, intents, content structures that AI and Google and obviously prefers and that kind of thing. I think those are the types of marketers that are going to have a distinct advantage when it comes to search and LLM search as well. And then I think beyond that, even when we get into people using AI, LLM search more and more, AI mode potentially becoming the absolute norm, we still know that traditional search is going to become, it's still going to be important when we look at it from the lens of LLM searches, because we still need to focus on ranking in traditional search engines so we can be part of the answer when LLMs need to go off and perform searches for RAG and all that good stuff. So I think we need to be, in 2026, we'll be thinking about it from both lenses in terms of, one, from a brand perspective, how do we get into that training data when they update that, whenever they do, and then getting into RAG responses as well, which is obviously that more sort of SEO focused work. And I think a good kind of discussion point is obviously all the content that Garrett and iPullRank have been putting out about how to rank in AI mode and all that good stuff. Read some of those articles yourself, go through some of the strategies that are proposed and test them on your own site, find out what works.
Yeah, no, valid points. And it's interesting. I just had Tom Capper on. I just released the video of that interview, and he's the first person I've heard to say he doesn't think AI mode is going to become the default mode. He doesn't think that it's going to happen. And I just thought that was going to happen. But he had a valid point. they don't need to do really. Like you're saying, like they just need to be just as good as ChatGPT with that. And as long as they have that option and people don't go to ChatGPT to get that same sort of experience, then they could kill off ChatGPT essentially. It put it a lot more elegantly than I just said, but it was a really interesting take. Garrett, what do you think?
Okay, let's bring some super hot takes. Okay, so first off, I think there's a lot of it depends, and I'll say what I'm thinking is we were told in Q4 that Google was going to start testing ads in AI mode. They were doing like kind of a lot of teasing with one sheets because you got to get people to actually spend if we're going in the wild. We haven't seen it yet. We really haven't seen that tested, which is kind of surprising because last couple of years around shopping season, Google's like, screw it, whatever. We're going to do product review updates and spam updates, all like throwing off all of your data. I think in the next, 3 to 6 months, we'll start to see those tests. If they go well, that's going to inform what happens next. I think it could go one of two ways. I think either in the next 6 months, we do see AI mode as the default version of search if ads are successful, because you always got to follow the money. You ever listen to like Cindy Crum? It's like, follow the money. That's going to inform their decisions. If it doesn't go well, I think we'll see the training wheels version, which they've been doing with the web search guide, which is basically you still kind of get your links. It's like curated, almost categorical versions of the results, because people don't want to have to do, the jump to 10 different results and find copycat content. Like, we're moving in the direction away from that. And Sundar Pichai has talked about this idea of like over time, they're integrating AI mode features into traditional search. So we'll see this kind of hybrid kind of iterate time over time over time. As long as they can generate revenue, I think that will influence the way that we look at things. To Celeste's point, I think personalization will continue to improve. Right now, there's going to be this race of what LLM is going to be the stickiest, that has the most of your data to provide the best experience. Like, the more I use ChatGPT, the more I want to go to ChatGPT because it knows me better, whereas Google still has all of your data. And I think ultimately, from a psychological perspective, the biggest thing for consumer adoption is the default of whatever they decide. The reason AI overviews has had such a big impact on everyone is because you can't avoid it. Like, you can't really turn it off. Sure, you can put like -AI in your search and get it, removed, but like, people don't do that. And so they've just accepted the fact that like AI overviews are there. And so whatever the default is, like if ChatGPT and OpenAI becomes your default browser or your default version of LLM, then that's going to win. If Google goes to AI mode, that's going to win. So I say follow the money and follow the defaults.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like people say this AI bubble and stuff like that. And, some very interesting videos and stuff around how the money's circulating between different companies and stuff. And actually, is there actually any growth, or is it just money being moved around between the big companies like Nvidia and stuff, which is fair point. But obviously they are pumping a lot of money into it. Only just in the weekly news thing I just did around Perplexity investing $400 million into Snapchat, for example. So being their main AI sort of model. So, there's a lot of money. So, Serge, obviously, I'm very interested to see what you think from a paid perspective. Obviously, like there's been some information from not just organic traffic dropping, but paid traffic going down and stuff. It's interesting to see what you think.
Yes, valid point. All you guys said, and as Garrett said, it's a lot of it depends, which is the most common thing on PPC. And happy to bring the paid perspective. All of you guys are more SEO people, and so on that one, where we're going, and we need to be cautious because it might be quickly changing. But I guess you expect us to kind of try to predict on the search part of it. We can see how AI Max, which is the new campaign type, is dominating, and we are all looking. As Gareth said, we know that AI, with all the investment that has been, down there, they will need to get the money back. So we know that advertising is not a matter of if, it's when. So that would be happening. They are already testing in the US. In AI overview with the ad, and we know that this would be rolled out, more broader if it's working. It's already there basically, and I think it will be back to actually the human making the decision. So that's what will be the differentiator, because all of us, we are using ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whoever, according to our preference. But what will differentiate it, the human input behind it. And I think that will be the most important part of our job. Really, it will be to be there guiding the all of those guys, and making sure we minimize the hallucination to have the right input. So that's how I'm seeing it. But it's already there, so nothing to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think these kind of conversational based models are going to open the door to potentially higher, it should be technically more personalized product recommendations, service recommendations, and so on. Ideally, for a customer, it should be a much better experience, because they're going to know a lot more about you. They can be able to personalize a lot more, integrate it within conversations, not just like a sticky sort of advert that's there. I guess that's in the ideal world. And obviously, we're going to get onto it, but when we're talking about summer 2026, I like you say, Serge, it's already begun. But will, by that stage, people be actively going through ChatGPT and Google AI mode and buying things, do we think?
Okay. Well, because I was the last one just to to get into it. Our job, it's there, but still, we would see how it goes. And with that one, I had a conversation most recently. That's how I test, how those things goes. I'm having my sister, she's 20s. So when we have conversation, I will ask her, how are you using AI? And what comes up, she used AI, but the reality is and she told me, whenever I have to make a decision, I will go back to Google. And we are seeing it. Regardless, all we've been predicting, Google is dead. But they are still dominating, and I think they haven't been stronger than they are today. This said, with the agentic going, it's making our life easier. But would we really? Are people ready to let those agents do everything for them? I doubt, and that's where I think we would still need to do our job, because it's there. It's dominating. It's making the life easier. We need to do our job on the PPC, for example. We could see it's already really present on the shopping side. So we need to do our job to just win the SERP battle, who never been fierce than today. If we bring back for those who has been longer in the industry, if we bring back our old classic joke where to hide a dead body. So I was having a conversation with someone, and I had just said, just somewhere, behind, below the fold. It's not even the second page anymore. The battle is so fierce. So interesting, to see what you guys are thinking. But
I open the floor if anyone has any comments around everything. Any further comments?
It depends, right? Like so we did like a UX AI mode study and asked like 5 different tasks. Like one was e-commerce, one was local, one was informational, one was news. And like people, it's interesting. There's so many segments. It's so fractured. You know, like there are people who are going directly to TikTok for their research on purchase behavior. You know, there are a lot of people who are so brand dependent. Like if I'm, you know, I'm not a sneakerhead, but like, you know, I buy New Balances. I'm either going to the store or I'm going directly to the website to purchase. And so some of these instincts and behaviors aren't going to change. When it comes to like your research for a big product, like a car or insurance, that's a much more complex sort of process, you know, or planning a vacation, like, you know, like Serge was talking about, like agentic, are they going to make those decisions for me? Like, I don't trust that yet, even if, you know, sorry for anyone who's working with like loves TripAdvisor or Kayak, like they're putting these processes in place to like plan a whole vacation, but like, there are so many nuances between my wife and my daughter that they are not going to get it right. Like they're not going to do that whole process. So, but like, you know, setting up like a subscription service for, you know, my toothbrush every 3 months. Like, yeah, I can do that online. I think it's so task specific and product dependent. And, you know, the journeys are so much more nuanced that there's going to be people, early adopters, who are going to use this and be all about it. It almost is reminiscent to me, like back in the 90s, early 2000s, like when e-commerce just became a thing of like, am I going to put my credit card on the internet to purchase something? Like it'll happen, but it's going to be a slow roll. That's my take.
Yeah. To like expand on that, I mean, talk about the whole sort of AI agentic experience thing. I think you can kind of split it out into two parts. You've got agentic AI as a whole in terms of especially information workers, right? Like we already know at this stage that a lot of us are happy for ChatGPT to go off and do certain tasks for us. Like deep research and all that became big immediately because it saves so much time. When it comes to like agentic AI search and actually doing things like purchases and things like that, are we actually, like, trust is going to be the key thing there. Like, are we really going to trust these systems with sensitive information yet? Because I don't know if I would. And going back to like the psychology point that Garrett mentioned, all it takes is one bad story for people to lose trust immediately. All it needs is one article in BBC News to be like, I asked ChatGPT to book my holiday and I spent 20 grand. Like if you weren't looking to spend 20 grand on a holiday, all it takes is one story like that for people to be like, yeah, I'm just going to hold off on that for now.
Yeah, just to add to that, like what Garrett said, it will happen, but really slowly. And like, I just want thinking of the consumer and just how technology has changed throughout time. You have like millennials who will still post like for booking a trip that, oh, that's a big screen purchase. They're not going to do the purchase on their phone because they don't trust it. And it's like, this is 2025. You're not purchasing everything on your phone. That's so weird to me because that's how I've grown up with technology. So adoption will be slow. And at the same time, there are people who are anti-AI as well. You're seeing Gen Zers, millennials. You know, it's a part of the consumer group that I don't think really many of us are talking about. And just like Garrett had mentioned with AI mode, yeah, you can type in and try to avoid it. But you do see people talking about, and like there's a sentiment that's negative towards ChatGPT and using that for searches because of, you know, impacts to the environment, things like that. They're like, oh, I'd rather go to Google for it. So with something like agentic becoming widely spread by like next year, probably not going to take a long time to get there. And then even just with AI mode becoming sort of a default, you know, I think hybrid probably would be the way to go, like Garrett had mentioned as well, just because there are going to be consumers who do want to opt out of it. And it will be interesting to see how they're going to try to get around it and maybe what other search engines will drive them to. And that's where we're going to need more of that human connection, like a TikTok or Instagram, to see actual people talking about things, or Reddit.
One caveat to argue against myself, but also like because I really appreciate what everyone else is saying. But going back to the psychology thing that like Ryan and Celeste mentioned is, if they reduce the friction, people are lazy. I'm sorry, like humans are lazy. Like, if they reduce the friction and they make it like an Amazon type of experience that's right in front of you and you just one click it, like, I could see segments being like boom, 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 like, especially in the US where we're just like spend irresponsibly way too often despite being basically head first into a recession. So I could see the argument of like, it is up to, and we've seen with OpenAI, like they are moving full steam ahead with like merchant centers and adding that. I haven't seen it like personally with like the click to buy sort of situations, but I mean, there's a lot of other unexpected consequences of these moves, but if they make it super easy and reduce all friction, it could take off.
So I mean, I was going to say the same example because I think, like we're saying, back in the day when Amazon launched and you said you would store your credit card there and you would just buy things in one push of a button, you would be like, I'm not storing my credit card on there. I'm very like anti. And then millions and millions are doing it. So like, so it's whether Google and OpenAI, how much money they want to invest, and they have all the power, and Meta and people like, if they want it to happen, it will happen because they influence how people behave because they have the power. They have all the power. So it really depends on if it starts taking off a little bit and they start investing more money into it, it will just happen. And like I say, if they seamlessly put it into the conversation and make it easy and a nice experience, so I can see it happening. And, you know, and it could be a revenue driving way of doing it because they could take a cut of the, you know, off the sale or something like that. So, you know, it's definitely, I think it's possible. I think AI, the thing is, everyone compares it to the internet, and obviously it's similar, but the internet was it needed humans. You know, it was humans had to control it. Humans had to do everything before the internet, even to this day, and we're still not quite got there. But AI doesn't need the same, you know, support. Once you launch it, it's doing its own thing, and now it's learning and developing on its own. And yeah, it doesn't need that hand holding, and it's rapidly evolving a lot quicker than anything we've ever seen. So if the technology is increasing and Google keep investing money into it, I think it is. I said, someone said on my program earlier that, and I think I saw this as well, that OpenAI have been hiring people actively to look after sort of paid activity and sort of that side of it. So I think they're gearing up to push it further as well.
Yeah, just to bring back a bit of paid media perspective, let's not forget that all of those big boys, when you look at all of them, their revenue, Google, their revenue would be 80% from the advertising. So the question is, would they be full enough to just you know, kind of break the branch they are sitting on? So that part, when thinking of it, they would be investing, you know, to give these, you know, tools to fluidify the way people are buying. They are already existing for e-commerces. E-commerces are already using that, but they're bringing them on a big scale. That will means they will have less revenue, which I doubt, you know, they would want to go. So
yeah, fair enough. And just to finish off on this one, I guess, because Tom kind of threw me off a bit. What's the main thoughts in the room about AI mode becoming default? Do we think by summer 2026 it'll be default, or do we think that's not going to happen?
I think it will be getting there, but not quite default.
Hybrid.
I'm with you. I mean, if you guys have used it yet, it's still not good enough. Like, search is so complex, and you know, like Celeste, you know firsthand with like local, it's like when people go to local, they want to see a map at the top, right? When people go and they buy commerce, they want to see visuals, they want to see images of the products. And early iterations of AI mode doesn't get it right. Like, you'll still see these like walls of text comparisons for like local places, and then they'll put the map at the bottom. Like, I'd rather go to Google Maps. They'll put like a bunch of explanation, like exposition, if you will, like a really bad movie, and then they'll put the carousel of products at the bottom. And there are some searches that just need a featured snippet, that don't need like an entire, you know, villain monologuing about, you know, what day is the, you know, 4th of July, or, you know, people who try to trick that stuff. So I think that until it really figures out the best way to answer every type of search, it's not going to be an improvement. And so the only reason we would ultimately see it like really be make that transition, it goes back to Serge, is like the ad stuff. Is like if they're making, because in theory, if you're spending more time engaging back and forth the conversation, there are more surfaces and impression-based advertisement opportunities. So you could see like more ad revenue, but we don't know if they'll figure it out.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Tom was touching on. Is like it costs them a lot of money to generate these answers, and you know, you don't need to generate answers for, like you say, for every single query. It's just wasting a lot of resource, and unless you can monetize that, like you say, then it'll change the picture a bit. But let's move on to the next topic, because you know, time and stuff. And with obviously AI search becoming more common, as we know, it's still obviously way far behind Google, as we also know. But how much should people be adapting their content in relation to that? Because we see all this GEO and all that stuff. People obviously want to be picked up in the large language models, but you also don't want to screw yourself over and then go against what Google wants, you know, because that is still the main driver for many people. So, Celeste, what do you think on this one?
Yeah, I think in terms of adapting content, it's more focusing on different user journeys and trying to address, so like just like you mentioned in the personalization earlier, trying to address all the possible concerns and the different types of buyers, you know, on the local space, just making sure, I just kind of been calling it like information overload. Like there's no such thing as TMI at this point, making sure that all the information is there possible for the types of consumers. And yeah, just really focusing on user journeys, buyer personas, and deep diving and investing more into content, especially with barrier to entry being so low now that anyone can go to ChatGPT and spin out like a blog post. Investing more into creating the helpful content that will work for your buyers.
Yeah, great points. Ryan, I'm sure you're doing a lot of testing around this, but yeah, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think from my point of view, I was watching a webinar the other day with Ethan Smith from Graphite, I think his name is, and he was it was a quote from him that stuck out with me, and it was like, "Don't worry about a channel until it's big enough to worry about," or something along those lines. And I do think AI LLMs are now at that stage where they are now big enough to pay attention to, because like we've seen it ourselves. We get trials now who are coming and we're like, "Where did you hear about us?" And it's like, "Oh, we heard about you from ChatGPT or Perplexity, etc., etc." So it is now something we're obviously starting to look at. It's also not some. It also just doesn't mean that we're like just going back and like ignoring normal good marketing and good SEO and that kind of thing. So I think the question should really be like, how should we learn what needs to change rather than like, how should we change it like immediately? Because at the end of the day, like nobody has a playbook really for AI search yet that just like works 100% of the time, because results vary so much by industry, the type of website, the intent, personalization as well. Like myself and Celeste could be sat in the same room, search the same query, and then based on what we're interested in, we can get like a completely different response. So I don't think adaptation should be this like wholesale thing. It should be experimental. Experiment first, find what works for your site, and then you can start to scale your content, like both existing content and new content based on that. And then it'll obviously change as like platforms evolve and stuff, which means the playbooks will continue to evolve. Garrett and iPullRank are going to continue to update their articles and things like that. But yeah, like going back to the original point, Google as a sort of traditional one is still big enough, and it's still like the main driver for us. So like we're still trying to rank content for traditional searches as well, whilst also trying to ensure that our content is picked up in RAG searches, and we get mentions and citations from ChatGPT and everything else.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned a video in a previous video about Hrevs and Ryan Law, and he'd done a really good video about AI search and kind of what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. Obviously, and he's saying no one really knows yet. You know, these are just suggestions and kind of things they're seeing. They're the large data pool of, you know, information they pulled from, but still no one really knows. But obviously there are things you can be doing that people are kind of saying that could have quite a negative effect on how you're seen on Google. So you want to be careful. You know, you're going to strip all your content back and put it into like little, you know, neat sort of sentences and stuff like that, and remove all sort of assets or something like that. I don't know, but you know, that could actually have quite a negative effect on your Google side of it. So, you know, there are parts of it that I'm actually quite excited about, that it's kind of added to what should have been there anyway. So like brand management and EEAT and these things that should have always been priority, but you didn't really have to do for Google all the time, because you could get things to rank without that kind of stuff a lot of the time. But now it is being part of that kind of, you know, conversation. So I think it's like brought a lot of good things forward, but I think obviously you've got to be careful, because you don't want to.
Are you saying that we shouldn't just spend tens of thousands of dollars and have our site just at the top of every listicle in our niche?
But that's the funny thing, isn't it? Because like Lily Ray, she just put out a LinkedIn post about what she thinks going to be in the next sort of algorithm update. And I think she said about listicles that perhaps mention your brand but don't mention other sort of similar, like, you know, they could be very gamed, like those listicles. I'm not sure why they've been put up so much in terms of priority in these like recent sort of rankings and algorithms and stuff. But yeah, I think some of the black hat, grey hat stuff that's kind of being done at the moment to increase your visibility, I think that's, it's obviously not got much longevity. It's not a good way to do things, in my opinion. But yeah, Garrett, what do you think?
Completely disagree about the listicle takes and all of this. No, so here's the thing. I think that in SEO, there's so much about it that you need to know your business, you need to know your revenue goals, you need to know your risk tolerance, right? I think you could not participate in a lot of these tactics and abdicate your visibility for the short term, but maybe save yourself for the long term. I think the enterprise strategy is going to be completely different than a startup that's only trying to make a buck for a year, you know, and do a great SEO heist and make a bunch of ad revenue and then get out of there. Like, it's a different conversation. I would never advocate for anything that's manipulative or malicious. But when it comes to like the listicles, for instance, like that has been the case forever. And I think the whole argument is BS, because when someone goes to ChatGPT or they go to Google and they're looking for the best agency or the best SaaS software or whatever, everyone's biased as heck. Like, you're not going to find a piece of content on the internet that is written by a marketplace or the business themselves or other businesses that are going to give, or even like an individual. Like, if I work in-house, I'm not writing an article about the top 10 agencies, 7 of which I've never worked with, and give like my own biased opinion on the 3 that I have. Like, where do you expect that content to come from? And so for me, I think it's more of the fear of like, do the bad faith players get rewarded or the good faith? Like, I'm not ashamed to admit, I have an article that I written on the top 10 B2B SEO agencies, and iPullRanks at #1. Now, don't get me wrong. I straight up hit up a satirical article that calls out the ridiculousness of it. But I also said we deserve to be at #1. I feel, strongly about it. And I had a conversation with a salesperson the other day, or not a salesperson, someone who's interested at iPullRank. And they're like, yeah, I read about you guys on another agency's listicle article, and we read about you. And, I didn't want to go with them. I wanted to go with you. But I reached out based on these listicles. Like, people, to Celeste's point, everybody's search journey, you need to do your audience research. And if your ideal customer is looking for you on those listicles, like I'd be doing my agency a disservice if I'm not participating. And I'm not a bad person. You all know me. I'm not trying to manipulate people, but like, I think the fear comes from the fact that, and I'll speak to Celeste again with like the local space, like Google hasn't gotten fake reviews right for decades. They haven't figured that out, and they're not going to. Now, I'm not saying you should go and have a bunch of negative reviews on your competitors or come up with a bunch of fake positive reviews for yourself, but like, there's no right answer for a lot of this stuff. So I think you need to understand your business, understand your audience, and make informed decisions that are both good for like whether it's a short-term or a long-term strategy. That's my take. And I don't think I'm a bad person for saying it.
No, and actually very, very valid points. And this is why I like doing shows like this, because you get to see the other side of it. And look, and that's the thing, not all listicles are obviously bad, and some definitely have their place. And like with anything in life, there's good actors, there's bad actors. And I guess obviously in an ideal world, the search engines and the large language models wouldn't need listicles to decide who's good, who's bad. They could take it from other factors. In my opinion, that would be the best scenario. But I get that right at this stage, and probably for the foreseeable future, they're not that good enough to do that. And if good actors like yourself are being genuine with your reviews and your summaries, and that's great. It annoys me if you're a bad actor, you have some authority, you can put out any old rubbish and it ranks, and then you put down your competitors who haven't really done anything that wrong, but I guess they could do their
I gotta
own,
say,
but it's a vicious
the
cycle.
internet's not fair. It's not fair. All this stuff is editorial in the long run. Whatever brand, I mean, you think about media publications, it's like the majority of the top media publications in the world are owned by 5 conglomerates. Like, let's not ever assume that any of this is fair. That doesn't mean you should do anything, completely shady, but it is not. I want to live in that mirror universe, Sean, where everything is utopian and the best results come out.
We can do it. We can do it. Well, I had Craig Campbell on, and he basically said, like, why would I not do that? Like you said, if I can beat my competitor to do X, Y, Z, that takes me a lot shorter than doing, the good practice stuff to a degree. Like I'm not saying he's doing like anything dodgy, but kind of just pushing the boundaries a bit. If I'm not pushing the boundaries to beat my competitors, why would I not do that? If I could do that, push the boundaries and win, versus do the good thing, do the right thing, and so to speak, and lose. Like, that's, like you say, that's not the world we live in, and that's not the internet. So
respect principled people. Like I respect people who have like a certain type of like value system and principles. Like it makes sense, but it's also, it's tricky to judge when people's livelihoods are on the line or thing one way or the other. It's messy.
And that's the thing. If you work in like your money or life situation, like I do at Macmillan, you got to be very careful on any sort of tactics you do to, but yes, it does vary. So sorry, I'll stop going on. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, on that one, that's why in PPC we had we still have, but evolving quality score. That was for that very specific reason, because as Gareth was saying, if you ask me to talk about what I'm doing, I will tell you probably, I'm one of the top PPC guys, out there. And quality score was exactly for that reason, to make sure, people were not fooling the system. And Google introduced it to reward those doing a great job, to serve a user in the first place. And I think the way we are going, we will have something similar, more broader, in which would be rewarding those doing, their job better. And to come back to what we were saying, how I think data would be an important piece, really, to understand data, important one, and also working collaboratively. I think more than ever, we cannot afford to be siloed, not knowing what is happening on social, organic, for example, and data would be making all of that possible to see what the audience is doing out there, where are they going, and then adapting the strategy. I think we can't afford anymore to be competing like, okay, yeah, PPC need to get the big chunk of budget. If that doesn't reflect what the audience is doing out there, yeah, there is no point. You won't be blindly investing on PPC where your audience is spending most of their time, on Pinterest or Reddit, for example, just to say.
Yeah. How are you working at the moment? Like, say you're working on a client and they have a really poor content quality score. Like, what's your kind of process? Do you suggest kind of getting that adapted, or how do you go about that?
That's part of the job. Also, quality score, that would be very technical into what is happening within the account. That something we can fix, making sure the ad copy, the message is reflecting what on the website, and because we don't have okay, to break it a bit down. Quality score would be essentially on PPC 3 components. So that would be the expected click-through rate. That's mean Google anticipate with your content what is the likelihood for people to click on it. Second would be the bid. How much are you willing to pay? But that part, it's been ages. We don't have that much control because it's a smart bidding. It's done automatically. And then the other part would be your website, what is happening on your landing pages. So having said that, that's mean, okay, we forget about the bid. We keep the message you are having out there and what's on your website. And those two pieces, we have control over it. When doing the analysis as a PPC person, I would be able to tell to the client, you need to review that piece of content to match what we are having on our ad copy. So that's one of the way. Now taking it more holistically, and that's why I said data is really important. That's mean, okay, when we do the analysis, and this is something we are putting into place to really have plug all the data sources to be able not to see only PPC, but what is happening on SEO and all the social channel. So we could also be having those proactive conversations with our client to tell them what we think they should be doing with their budget. And happy days if we are managing all of that, paid social and PPC, we would just be making those decisions and letting them know this is what we are seeing, and we think it will be best to pull the budget a bit lower on PPC and shuffle it back in paid social, and if not, we would at least give them the information so that they can make a holistic informed decision with their marketing in a more general sense.
Yeah, cool. And it looks like, again, I'm not really up on the whole paid stuff. I try to, but there's enough going on in the organic. But in terms of paid, I think PMAX are being a lot more transparent in what you're seeing and stuff, which wasn't always the case. It weren't like the black box that it used to be. They're a bit more open about what data's going out of that.
Yes, it has taken a lot of rant, but they are adapting. So basically they came out with that black box, and finally bringing it back to more normalcy. We have we have more control now, but the other thing is we are having AI Max, who is coming, which has its stand is a combination of dynamic search ad, which was one way Google introduced a few years back to automatically pull content from URL on the website, and plus PMAX. So we are having that combination. It's early days testing, but looks like we might have a dynamic ad disappearing P max lowering a bit to go into more of AI max, but it's quite early. So yeah, I don't want to appear, like an idiot in a few months. So I will, I will stop it there. But yeah,
no, interesting, and follow Serge for the latest and all that stuff for sure. I guess any other sort of thoughts, like about content and adapting it, like for example, and I'm sure Ryan, you got thoughts, meta descriptions and meta titles still worth even bothering with that stuff, because we've seen like they're testing out AI to do your meta descriptions for you now, and what impact is that going to have in future? So what do you think?
I mean, on meta descriptions, I can only tell you what our data shows is that we have seen like some tests where people have only changed meta descriptions and they have seen traffic rise. But at the same time, we have also had tests where the meta description has changed and that's the only thing that's been changed and nothing's happened. So I think when it comes to that, it's one of those ones where the beast of Google will do what they want. Like if they decide to rewrite your meta description, there is nothing you can do about that. You can write better descriptions all you want, but if Google thinks they can do a better job, they're going to do that anyway. But it's certainly still like, if you're looking at it from a purely SEO, organic rankings, however many blue links on a certain point of view, I'm not going to say 10 blue links because there very rarely is anymore. But if you're looking at it from that perspective, based on our data, it's an idea that you can absolutely test. You just have to see what happens for your site, because it's different depending on the sites that you're looking at.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there any other final thoughts on all that stuff, or I'll finish off on something and we'll go on to that?
One thing I'll say to Celeste's point about the journeys is, we've talked a lot or at iPullRank about this idea, and everyone's talking about the fan out queries. Just kind of changing your mindset in the way that you address content creation, where it's less and less about just focusing on a specific keyword, assuming we're going in the direction where AI is going to be kind of tied in. And this isn't like an SEO versus a GEO sort of thing, but it is this understanding of like, it's more than just synonyms and slightly related. You're seeing 20 to 30 related queries being pulled into an AI overview. And like, ultimately, you have to address AI overviews stealing traffic. Everyone's been impacted by that. So it has to kind of change the way you approach your SEO strategy in general. It is harder because in a lot of the ways we're so used to focusing on keyword volume and being able to say, okay, if I'm going to create this one piece of content, it's going to get hundreds of thousands of potential visits because I just got this one keyword in mind. Whereas the long tail becomes so much more important, and you're going to get like these one-off hits that'll convert customers and drive revenue, but it's hard to do that at scale, which is why, here's my other hot take, generative AI content isn't the end of the world as long as there's a person in the loop, because the reality is I would rather have something that's tailored to my conversational search, my question, my longer tail, personalized to me type of content that is likely to be created by AI than, one person in a room who can't create 100,000 answers or pieces of content for my like one specific, I wish I could ask my coworker right next to me type of question. So, is the like internet going to be filled with AI slop? Yes. Is that always a bad thing? I don't think so. I think it will have utility and be helpful in the future. There, quote me.
That's why we get you on for this hot takes. Celeste.
Yeah, I wanted to just add with the user journey stuff we were talking about, and just considering, I know we had said that we're going to talk about, we didn't really get there with like TikTok as a search engine, and thinking more multimodal search, and just, it's not just written content or like calculators that you're creating, but creating those videos, those images as well, and users that are searching from there, because like I use TikTok all the time. Gen Z uses TikTok all the time for searches, and I do a lot for local, and they're putting a lot more local features in there, like that Local Explorer program, which is very similar to Google's Local Guide program, with leaving reviews, getting XP points, being part of a community. And and just considering that as well, because, you know, just as there's the generative engine content that's like being created, the AI reviews, there will still be videos pulled in, there'll still be photos pulled in, making sure that that sort of aligns, and we're considering that part of the user journey as well. Because like traditionally SEO would just think Google, but it means search engine optimization. TikTok is a search engine. We shouldn't be ignoring an entire generation of people just because we're used to Google.
100%. And actually, this leads me on to the last point, and I'll start because I was going to ask, what are the things that you're mainly focused on right now and why? And one of the areas I'm focusing on is well, a couple I mentioned. YouTube, obviously. You know, a lot of the times I go straight to YouTube. If I see like a news breaking, I don't go on like the news websites like I used to. I'll go on YouTube and see what videos have been created. There's usually live streams. There's all sorts going on there. And there's so much opportunity. Like I say, it's a huge search engine that's usually underutilized. So that's definitely one area that I'm looking at. And also Wikipedia. So we have a Wikipedia page, a lot of outdated information. It's not as, we're a charity that's been going on for a long time, and you wouldn't think that looking at our Wikipedia page. So I'm trying to represent that. Obviously I've got my thoughts on Wikipedia, which you've probably seen on my channel and LinkedIn. Not a huge fan, but you have to work with what you got, and it's a very powerful website at this time. So yes, that's kind of a couple of things I'm working on, or why. But so that's what do you think, what you're currently focusing on, and why?
Collaboration with social teams and TikTok, you know, so trying to, you know, in the local space, we don't do social media at RicketyRoo. So these clients that we have work with other agencies to get that done, and sort of collaborating with them on reporting, trying to align content strategies, user journeys together, and making sure we're hitting all points. You know, one of their people on their team sees like, hey, lots of people are looking for this, or we're showing up for this on TikTok. We're seeing that in a little search queries on the video. They can give us that information like, oh, that probably should be on the website. And same thing, you know, we see stuff that we have on the website. We're like, hey, you guys could make a video out of this, and we can end up embedding that on the website as well. And user behavior data, and just making sure, you know, we're watching the friction, watching what's going on there, addressing that. If there like is friction, or if there are like rage clicks, things like that going on the website, making sure that we're making it easier to use, and, you know, just getting people to where they want to go next a lot faster.
Nice. A rage click, is that what? I think I do that a lot when things aren't loading for me and I'm pressing it like relentlessly. Okay.
Exactly that.
Yeah, I'm bad at that. Even though I tell my daughters, like, just be patient, stop clicking it. And then I do exactly the same thing when I want something to learn. Ryan, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think for us, like, because I don't think from a fundamental point of view that marketing has changed all that much, it kind of has just split itself into different roles for us. So this goes to exactly what Celeste was saying. So like from a branding point of view, we're trying to get our brand out of there more on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, like, and this is from a brand point of view and my personal point of view as well, because that's then associated with the brand as well. So like I have a professional TikTok that's based under my name and not SEO Testing's name and that kind of stuff. So all that kind of good branding stuff of getting everything out there, doing conference talks and things like that. And we're still obviously focused on SEO from most points, because at the end of the day, for us, Google is still like the main driver of the leads that we get, the traffic that we get, and that kind of stuff. So we're certainly not ignoring that from that kind of stuff. We're then also doing a lot of experiments on to how do we get more mentions / citations in AI search, because that will just get bigger and bigger. But then I think at the end of the day, we're just trying to practice what we preach more than ever. So that when we put out content, it'd be like, just listen to your audience and stuff like that, and research your audience. Like, we're trying to do that more than ever. So like, where should we be actively marketing ourselves to reach the ideal customer profiles that we have? What content do people need from us so that we can share what we know and help people out that way? What works and that kind of stuff. Like, do people need a YouTube series? Do people need videos? Or do people just need like older school helpful blog articles that we can write and share out and distribute and that kind of stuff. So we're doing a lot of stuff we've already done, combined with a lot of testing and new stuff and a lot of learning as well, because we're all in that stage.
Yeah, you put out some great stuff, and it's a great tool. And I guess, you know, I think, Garrett, you said this last time you were on, and I've taken on board, I was trying to accelerate it actually, about actually real life user testing, because the thing is, all these tools and everything, it's going to become so hard to track actually what users are doing and how they behave and how they jump around different platforms and that kind of thing, what prompts they use and so on and so forth. So I think that's something on my list, is doing real life user research. And yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. And every industry and sector is going to be so different. So it's going to be, yes, definitely, I think, something to do. Garrett, what are you up to?
Yeah. And then to that point about like data, it's like, if I tell anyone, and the big thing we're doing is like education, but it's like when you're looking at data, you have to have a real open mind. Like you can't assume that every data point is definitively the answer for what you should do, but you also shouldn't like throw out all the data and just arts and crafts your way to business results. Like it doesn't work like that. So you really have to find, and it's tough. We're human. Like we got to find and go with our intuition of like that balance between using data to inform strategy, but also, you know, using our creativity to inform strategy. So there's a lot of balance right now. We're doing education. I'm like frustrated that Celeste said first, but I'm with her. Like we're doing a bunch of multimodal, omni-channel sort of approaches for our clients. Like, you know, thinking about the way that your omni media, text, video, first party data, all that, how that influences your visibility and search. And then the omni-channel is like, you can't just look at your website anymore. It's like what Ryan was saying about reputation. It's what everyone else says about you influences the way that you're seen online. So when we're working with clients, it's a lot of omni-channel, omni-media approaches in the context of AI search. And then my big thing as a marketer is like, I don't know what we're thinking. We're doing SEO week again at iPullRank. So a big New York conference in April. And so a lot of the promotion is starting with that, which is you do events. It is sick. It is unhealthy to run events, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, and obviously Buster Rhymes last time. I'm sure you're not going to spoil who's on this time, but yeah.
I was so jealous that I missed it.
Well, we'll see you in April, right, Ryan? You'll be there.
That's the plan. That is the hope. That is the hope.
Although I realize it is during Brighton, but you know, see how we go. Woo.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, fantastic. And I think, like you said last time, I think we're running out of time, but it'd be interesting what you see about job titles. Like, sorry, we didn't discuss, but how they're going to change. You know, in the summer of 2026, are we going to be called SEO managers and stuff like that? It's going to be very interesting. We haven't got time to dig into it, sadly, but you did open my mind last time we talked. So it was very interesting. Serge, what about yourself?
Things I'm focusing on. I've been, over the past few months, an advocate of diversification within my public speaking, but this is fundamentally something I always believe in for the simple reason, bringing back to the PPC world. Okay, it's dominated by Google, but the metaphor I would be using it, if PPC is a brand, Google would be the left hemisphere. That's fine. And running only on Google, it's like running on one hemisphere. So I'm advocating on diversification. And the second world search engine is Microsoft Ads. And I'm always surprised everywhere I go when I'm saying Microsoft Ads. People would be looking at me like, what you talking about? Microsoft, and I will tell them, if I ask you to list 5 technology companies in the world, Microsoft would be there. I don't know in which order, but yeah, probably, top 3, Microsoft would be there. And they are having a physical product in comparison to Google. Google is mainly services, but Microsoft, they are having hardware, bringing me to their search engine, Bing, and even the whole ecosystem. So I diversification is to activate what I call the right hemisphere, which is Microsoft Ad, to have a fully functioning brain. So yeah, that's really one thing I'm, advocating, pushing on my client. And there are two different search engines. So Microsoft is not a clone of Google. No, they are really different environment, with Microsoft having the ecosystem, more B2B. That's one thing. And going a bit deep into the omnimedia, as Garrett was saying, it's really having a full funnel marketing. Even inside Google or Microsoft, it's not, and we can see keyword are just, they would be disappearing. So that's mean, yeah, you have to adopt a full funnel way to look into it, not only keyword, and where people are searching finally, because Google, they are having so many properties. Not only the search engine, they are having map, they are having Gmail. You need to make sure in the way you manage your campaign, and that's what we do for our client. It will be to making sure we are present across all those touch points. There are so many. So those are, the type of things I'm focusing on right now, and also with data, really, to make sure we can see what is happening, even though we are not managing, but it's important to know what is happening at the end of the day. And this is what defines your PPC doctor. So we have what I call our DNA, the doctor mindset. So regardless, for our client, we have to listen to them and then diagnose, prescribe, and care, follow up with care. So having a broader overview with the ultimate goal being to sort them out. That means, okay, if we see that social, it's what bring them more value with data, we won't be trying to get more of the budget, whereas PPC is not, what matters to them. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope it's easier to get an appointment with you than my doctor, because that's not no, yeah, you're doing great work, and it's interesting to see. And like with paid, I used to be very hot on paid. Like that's my main thing, actually. And it used to be very easy to pour money down the drain very quickly. And I'm sure with like all these new opportunities, also is another avenue of pouring money down the drain if you don't do it right. So you have to be very careful where you put things and how you control it and monitor it. So yeah, hats off to you. I wouldn't want to do it right now if I'm honest. So, yeah. Yeah. Thanks all of you for joining me.
So come and see the doctor.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to. No, it's been awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate some really good hot takes there and points of view. So yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was nice meeting. Yeah, thanks for having us.